You can go on.
It's not interfering.
No. Just go ahead.
Okay. I think the introduction is sufficient. We can go straight to the questions because of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So our topic today is childhood trauma. And I think to begin with, would like you to tell us what exactly is childhood trauma and what normally causes it and how does it manifest in adulthood?
I can be heard and I can be seen.
Yes, you can.
Go ahead. Okay. Yes. And many people deny very passionately having experienced childhood trauma, because I don't know exactly what they think childhood trauma is. I don't know whether they think it's experiencing murder or something. So many people, when I see the struggles they are going through, and then I say, this is common among people who experience childhood trauma, they say they didn't experience trauma. So I ask them, how do you know? Mm-hmm. The only way you can know you experience trauma is by the struggles you have, because trauma is not necessarily in the memories. Now, when we talk about childhood trauma, a human being begins from conception. So even what happens in the womb can cause trauma. Mm-hmm. Let's say a mother is expecting and then she goes through a horrific accident, or she loses a loved one, she's going through grief, whatever it is, it will affect the baby. The same way that the nutrients go through the umbilical cord, they go to the to give the baby nutrients, it happens also with emotions and everything else. Mm. So one can say they didn't experience trauma, but there was so much trauma when they were in the womb. There was trauma when they were being delivered. It was a difficult delivery and the baby was delivered. There are even babies who are born and they fall down. Mm. The babies fall and they are slippery. Sometimes the baby falls or there is a loud noise or something. So when it comes to trauma, it starts from conception. It can happen in the womb. Mm-hmm. It can happen during delivery. It can happen in early childhood. Okay. Now, when people say they didn't experience childhood trauma, I think they don't really get it, what it means. Because many people don't know how to love and nurture small babies. Mm. So you find people who leave a baby to cry alone in the dark. And they say, mtoto atalia na atanyamaza. You are busy and the baby is crying and you are saying he's not wet. He's also been fed. That is trauma for that child, because at that age, anything that a child doesn't have the resources to cope with is sufficient to cause trauma. So a child being left crying is trauma. Yeah. A child witnessing loud voices and people exchanging words and things like that, because there is conflict in the family, that is trauma. Okay. A child is being breastfed, the mother is taking care of the child and she's going through grief because she just lost her parent or she just lost her sibling. That is trauma. So when people are talking about they didn't experience trauma, they need first to understand what is trauma. It's anything that the child doesn't have the resources to handle. It can be trauma in the neighborhood, it can be trauma with the caregiver. The caregiver is going through something which is affecting the baby they are taking care of. It can be from the womb, it can be from the delivery process, and so many other things can cause trauma. Sometimes when a child is young, there is war going on, there is political violence, there's another thing, there is a problem in the neighborhood, maybe there's a shootout with police, there is a neighbor kills the spouse. So many things can cause trauma. So I believe that we have an idea of what trauma is and how it happens. There are many things which we cannot control. Like now you cannot control that when you are breastfeeding or you are expecting your baby, you lose a loved one, or you are robbed, or you are in an accident, or there's an exchange of fire between police and criminals when you are there. You cannot control all those things. So many times there are issues which are beyond our control. I know many times people think that trauma is just staying in an abusive marriage. That children experience trauma because you stayed in an abusive marriage. That is a lack of understanding. The person may have been in a good marriage, but there are many other factors. So when it comes to what is trauma, I think I've answered the question. If something is not clear, just let me.
Pardon, I didn't get the last part.
In case there's something which is not clear,
okay,
let me know.
Okay.
Yes, I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have, and you have brought out a very interesting part. I think most of us have not considered. We have always thought when it comes to childhood trauma, it happens to a child who has already been born. And most of us never think about what our children go through when they're in the womb. So we rarely consider trauma happening during conception. We mainly consider it happens, and especially from children who maybe can talk, express themselves, like from 2 years going up. So I think most of us have not considered the below 2 years and even the babies in the womb. So for that, I think for most of us, that is a new dimension that we had not thought or understood about. So yeah, that has really come out well.
That is not all, because trauma is also passed down epigenetically. Okay. Let's say somebody was put in detention, or was a prisoner of war, was taken through torture.
Okay.
Then the children of that person, up to the third or fourth generation, they are born with that trauma encoded in their DNA. They have trauma which their grandfather went through, maybe like people from the parts of this nation where there was a struggle for independence.
Yeah.
You find that there are people who show signs of trauma even now, because their grandfathers were in the forest fighting for independence. Okay. Then the children and the children's children were born with that trauma already encoded in their DNA. Trauma changes even the way DNA material is read. So if somebody went through trauma, the children they'll bring into this world will have the effects of trauma. Yet they did not experience the trauma themselves. It is passed down epigenetically. So when I sometimes find people asking, maybe somebody who is suicidal, what are you like? You have a good job, you are beautiful, and things like that. Some traumas have rolled down the generations. That person may not be the one who experienced the trauma. It may be their parents or their grandparents who went through horrendous experiences which were passed down genetically. So they came into this world already having the effects of trauma, which their great-grandfather or their grandfather experienced. So it's not just about this generation.
Yeah. So now that being it's genetic, how does one overcome such, now that it's part of your genes?
The good news is that there is a lot of, I would say, progress in terms of knowledge. There is nothing which we cannot undo if we are willing to put in the work. We can actually rewire our brains. We can even change the way our DNA reads material. So we can do a lot. We can do, and I think I need to come out clear that I'm not a psychologist. Okay. So for me, I do not deal with psychology alone. As from the introduction, I am a transformational life coach, and I'm a spiritual life coach, and also business and entrepreneurship coach. I look at issues from different dimensions. Psychology is one dimension. The spiritual dimension is another dimension. I look at all the energy, the energy body also. I look at that as well. So I don't look at one dimension only. I look at the different dimensions. If you look at one dimension only, let's say psychology, you are not going to be in these traumas, because remember that the traumas which are passed down, they are not memories. You cannot deal with them by remembering that. You do psychotherapy, you do talk therapy because of the memories you have. Effects of trauma which are not, they are from the time you are in the womb and passed down the generations, and the time when you didn't have language. Remember that that memories are from the time there's language. So this baby who is young only cries when they are hungry or when they are wet. They don't have memories. So if you are doing psychotherapy about healing the wounded inner child, it's not sufficient. It's not even close to being sufficient, because the effects of trauma are not in terms of memories. So if you are doing talk therapy, digging out memories, you are not going to even deal with even a percentage of the traumas that you need to heal from. Yes.
Okay. So in such a case, like you mentioned, there are some people who say they manifest certain things or certain behaviors, but they have no recollection of what happened in their childhood. So in such cases, how can one identify what exactly is triggering them? They just see themselves behaving in certain ways, but they have no particular memory of certain things that may have happened to have caused these traumas that cause them to behave in certain ways.
That's exactly what I've explained, that the traumas are not in terms of memories. Like now, it happened in the womb, or happened in the delivery process, or happened when a child didn't have language. Let's say the first below age 3, when they don't have memories because there was no language, or it was passed down the generations. So there are no memories. The fact that one is manifesting effects of trauma is what they need to deal with. They don't have to find out what happened, because it may be, like now when I work with people to heal the wounded inner child, we do a lot of history taking and find out 2-3 generations deep, so that at least you know the issues you are dealing with. Then you discover that my grandfather was in the forest during the struggle for independence. You know the kind of traumas that are involved. But you cannot be able to pick all of them, because remember, like now, the trauma a baby goes through when in the womb is in terms of emotions. So you do not know what that mother was going through. Probably she was being quarreled by the husband. Probably she was being beaten. Probably her parent died. Maybe there was violence in the neighborhood. She may not even be able to give you all that information, because she may not even remember. You are talking of 30, 40 years ago. Then you ask her what emotions she was going through during pregnancy. She can give you an overview, but it is not a comprehensive thing. So the traumas manifest in different ways, and that is now what we deal with. You work on healing, not necessarily getting an accurate picture of what happened. There are people who, let's say a mother didn't want the baby. She was crying every day to God that the baby dies before they are born. That baby was born with trauma. How will they know what this trauma they have, where it came from? The mother will not tell them that I was praying that you die. They will not tell. A mother may even have attempted abortion several times. The baby was but survived. And the mother will not say, I did like this and like that. They will not tell. So we can get all the information about reasons why people, particular individual, manifest the traumas they do. What we do is that we try as much as possible to get your history, so that you know what you are dealing with, but you cannot get all the details. There is nobody who has that kind of information all put together, that even during delivery, mtoto alikwama, the was used to make the child come out. Some of those details might be difficult. Remember, there are babies also who are born through CS. The mother was not consciously aware of the things which happened. Maybe when the baby fell, or maybe there was a loud bang or another thing. She really cannot know. Maybe the process, there were things which traumatized the baby. But it's very difficult to get all that information together.
Okay.
Yes.
So So now when it comes to adulthood, how do childhood trauma manifest?
Okay, now that is actually very important because many people do not know how childhood trauma manifests. And there is something I would really wish to emphasize here. There are people who hear about chakras and they say it's demonic. They refuse to hear about them. You really cannot heal the wounded inner child without understanding chakras. Because chakras is the energy body of the human being. And the effects of trauma are stored in the physical body. So one has physical symptoms, and they are also stored in the energy body. They are in different layers. So if you say you don't want to know about the energy body, that's a very big portion of the issues you are struggling with. So if you don't learn about it, you end up, it is like you are trying to clean a room and half the room you don't want to see it. So you will not tackle that aspect. So it is very important to understand how trauma manifests. So if somebody has unhealed trauma from childhood, the way they react during when they are triggered, somebody makes a statement like single mothers or in-laws or dowry, somebody says something and somebody's reaction is completely out of proportion. Somebody lashes out, says 1,000 words, calls people names, tells you very hard words. I know you see that on social media. A comment is made and somebody is just crazy, says very bad things, even very bad insults. It has nothing to do with here and now. It is the wounded inner child who has been triggered. You've heard people telling somebody that grow up, telling somebody you are immature, you are childish, and things like that. What happens that we have to understand that we have two components. There is the child part of me and the adult part of me. So that child, if they have not healed, when one gets triggered, the child comes up. So the adult now is not in the picture anymore. It is the child. So the way a child behaves is the way a person behaves. They throw tantrums, they sulk, they refuse to talk to people, they bang things, they beat people, they threaten to burn the house down. Now that's the wounded child that has taken over. So that's why you hear people telling somebody, grow up, you are mature, you are, don't know, attention seeker, you drama queen, all those things. It's because the wounded inner child comes up and takes over. And then this person is back to a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, and you're wondering, this 40 or 50-year-old who is behaving like a 5-year-old. But people don't understand that the child inside is wounded. When there's a trigger, the child takes over. And one learns to calm that child, which is the way to solve this problem, is that child was not safe. That child was not accepted. That child was not listened to. So to heal is to do those things. Listen to that child, love that child, calm that child down the way it was supposed to have been done, but was not done. So if somebody has those issues, they have to do, I call it body work. They have to do a lot of body work. Because, pat yourself, it's okay, you are fine, it's all right. Massage, things like massage is body work. Taking walks, hiking, walking outside barefoot, going for hiking, things like that, dancing, things which are targeting the body, like the deep body massage, those kind of, they help to calm this inner child. So if one is going through programs to heal the wounded inner child and they don't have body work, they are not effective. The body work is so important because the traumas are stored in the body. You need to calm body down. So there has to be a lot of body work. Go to the gym, go jogging, make regular, body work activities, dancing, things which target the body. Not just talk therapy. It's not enough because traumas are in the body. They are in the spiritual body. They are in the energy body. They are in different layers. So to heal the wounded inner child, you need multiple methodologies to solve, not one thing. One thing is not enough, because now, let's say if we were to talk about I want to heal my wounded inner child and I do talk therapy only, what will happen to, like, for me, my mother was depressed when she was expecting me. So I grew up to have vulnerability to depression. How would we handle that as talk therapy? The emotions my mother was going through when I was in the womb flooded the baby with stress hormones. So I was born having that vulnerability. How can we handle it as talk therapy? We can't, because it is not memories. So body work is so very important. Learning to learn, the body. There are some of the strategies which I use, and by the way, this is important, that I've been giving away an emotional healing program tailor-made for ladies, and make sure you alert the participants to request for that program, because it gives some of those strategies that I use for healing. Strategies like meditation, deep breathing, body work, journaling, those kind of strategies, and the program is free. So those who would want the program can ask for it. Then they see the kind of strategies I use. But that is really a basic program. I'd say, compare with the comprehensive kind of work I do paying clients. This is it's like if you're hungry and you're almost starving and somebody gives you China mandazi. It's not a full meal, but you will not starve. It could have been better. The person who has the money will eat nyama choma na ugali na sukuma wiki, but because you now unasaidiwa, you pay China mandazi, it is helpful, but it can't compare with the person who has choices. Yeah,
it is. So you have mentioned something very interesting about connecting with your inner child, and you talked about if this child was not loving this child. So people would say that they feel unworthy and unlovable, and they don't know how to start loving themselves. So how does one begin loving this child, or appreciating and giving this child assurance when there's that feeling of unworthiness in them?
Yes, the unworthiness is normally a childhood problem. Romantic relationships are the number one way to know that you have unhealed trauma. If your romantic relationships are not working well, you need to do the trauma healing work, because the blueprint is from childhood. So you find people who are very insecure. People say, oh, my spouse goes through my phone, my spouse even hacked my phone, my spouse even put a tracking device on my phone. Being very insecure, being controlling. There are people who are very controlling. They have to make the decisions for you, what you are going to wear, who is going to be your friend, what career you are going to pursue, whether you are going to go to town or not. Those kind of things. If you are struggling with those kind of things, or if your romantic relationships get in trouble because of such, your insecurity and you are controlling, and your communication skills problems, that you quarrel, you fight, you throw tantrums, all those things, those are manifestations of wounded inner child. Whether you know what happened or you don't, just know you need to do the trauma work. How do you do it? to love that wounded inner child is to do the things that could have been done and were not done, to be listened to be allowed to voice. You know, when you have something to say, you're allowed to say. Many were not. The parents walikuwa kila kitu. They were the only ones who were supposed to be heard. The children were to be seen and not heard. So they lost their voice. So you have to allow yourself to be heard. You have to treat yourself well. And some practices that you can do on a day-to-day basis is like mantras. I am well, it is okay, I'm fine, you know, those kind of things, affirmations. But to heal the wounded inner child, you have to do work. Forgiveness. I know there are people who say, I can't forgive, I won't forgive. What you are saying is that I am having a thorn in my foot and I won't remove, I'll continue limping. Forgiveness is for your own good, and forgiveness is not equal to reconciliation. I know there are people who have been taught forgiveness the wrong way. So when they are saying I won't forgive, they are saying I won't go back to that person. It has nothing to do with going back or even talking to that person. Remember, we forgive even people we don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are just doing your own thing on social media and somebody calls you very bad names. Forgiving that person doesn't mean you associate with them. You don't even know the person. So even sometimes you are walking in town and somebody steals your phone and you are very angry. And for you to heal, you forgive that person, but you don't know them. So forgiveness is not reconciliation. Forgiveness is what unlocks, is the key that unlocks the door to healing. So forgiveness, having compassion, not saying that it didn't happen. No, it happened, but you are choosing to let go of the pain. You are choosing not to hold on to the anger. You are choosing how you process this issue, that it happened and I cannot undo what happened, and it is okay. I cannot undo it. The same way that if your phone is stolen, even if you stay there crying forever, it's not going to come back. So you reach a point and you accept. My phone was stolen. I wouldn't have wanted my phone to be stolen, but I'm moving on. And I'm now going to plan to buy another phone. That is what it means. You let go of things. Don't hold grudges. That person did 1, 2, 3 for me. I'll never talk to him again. And if you hold grudges, you cannot heal.
Yeah.
You accept those things happened and you let go. And you let go. Okay, I do not know whether everybody on this call is a Christian. For me, I am a Christian, and I get a lot of teachings from the Bible. When the Bible tells us to pray for those who persecute us, forgive them, and wish well to those people who persecute you. Not saying Mungu amuone hata kwake kuchomeke. No, not like that. You say that the way Jesus said, forgive them for they don't know what they were doing. It's the way you heal. You tell God to forgive them. You have compassion on them, and you do not pray for bad things to happen to them. Because when you have bitterness, desire for revenge, it's like you are taking a nail and poking yourself, and you are bleeding, and you are continuing to do it. You do not wish people ill. You say like that. They don't know what they are doing. And God have mercy on them. Maybe he stole my phone because his mother was sick. I don't know. Give me another one. Not holding grudges. Even 10 years down the road, you are still saying, who stole my phone? May his child die. Not like that. So if you hold grudges, you cannot heal. Yes.
Wow, that's very insightful. So you've mentioned the spiritual aspect of it, and I know, as you said, for those who are Christians, we rely on the word in prayer and the work of the Holy Spirit. But there's also this aspect of sometimes we feel we feel afraid of being vulnerable to other people, like coming to a coach to walk the journey with me for accountability. And so I say, I'll process these things by myself. Is it recommended to do this thing by yourself, or is it important to work with someone who understands and can see things that you may not be able to see, being the one who is going through the triggers and the trauma?
Now, if you have to do for yourself, do you have the formula? Because what formula will you use? There are people who tell me I'm working on healing myself. Then I ask them what strategies and what tools they are using they don't have. So what exactly are they saying? They are saying they are not doing it. Because like now, if you come to me and you say, I am struggling because I have unhealed trauma. What can I do? I have the formula I use as a professional. I'll tell you in the morning, you'll do meditation like this, you'll do body work like this, you'll do journaling like this, and then you'll do meditation this way, you'll do affirmations like this, all those different things. So now imagine if you don't have any formula. So what exactly are you doing? You don't even know what to do. So it is like saying, when I'm sick, should I go to the doctor or should I treat myself? Do you know how to treat? Do you have the tools to treat yourself? So if you don't have the tools, how will you do it? How will you do it? Because if when I'm working with somebody who needs to heal, I can tell them, you will do this 5 things in the morning, and in the evening you'll do these 3 things. So if they are doing it for themselves without any tools, what will they do? What will they do? They will not have actually anything they are doing. They even don't know what they are doing. Some people, they do is think about it. They are not doing anything. Like for me now, body work is so crucial. One has to do body work and even do strategies like EFT tapping, tapping on the meridian point, very effective. So if now one has no formula, how will they do it? How will they do it? If you don't have a formula, you really can't heal. Unless you say that I have bought these 3 books which explain how to heal, and I'm using the strategies in this book. These 3 books, or I subscribe to this YouTube channel which is about healing the inner child, and I'm following the strategies. But if you don't have anything to use, how will you do it? You cannot treat yourself without a formula. You don't know what to do. So if you are fearing to get somebody to help you, it is like being sick and saying, I'm fearing to go to the hospital. Then what happens to you? Like for me, as a transformational life coach, I do not, my programs are not in form of talk therapy. So you do not even have to come for sessions. It is, my programs are largely self-administered. It is like if you enroll for a fitness program, which you work out from home, you don't go to the gym. So when you check, today's Monday, I'm supposed to do 5 squats, then I take a brisk walk for 30 minutes, then I do like this. You do it privately. So one cannot say that they are afraid to enroll because they don't even have to show me how they are doing the squats and all that. Unless when they need my support, then they can say, now here, I would want support. If there's something they want to do privately, they do privately without involving me. So I've made it very convenient, whereby even that person who doesn't want anybody to know that they have struggles with the childhood trauma, they can enroll, they get a program, they go do it hiding wherever they want to hide. Unless they need my support, then they contact me and they say, when I do the body work, I'm feeling like this, or when I do the EFT tapping, I'm feeling like this, what can I do? And there's something I forgot to mention, and I think it's important.
Okay.
Traumas are stored in the body, depending on because we are all different. The same way today, if 10 people drank poisoned alcohol, they wouldn't all have the reaction. So depending on our different, the uniqueness of each individual, there is the kind of physical symptoms that manifest because of trauma. If you find people who are getting a lot of immunity issues, the people who end up with autoimmune conditions, cancer, things to do with the immunity, many times those things have roots in trauma which was not addressed. Eventually it becomes disease and shortens people's lives on earth. There you get people who have gastrointestinal problems. They are always having issues of bloating, ulcers, I don't know, running stomach, constipation. All those things are manifestations of traumas which have not healed. You find people who will say they are always having migraines. They've been having painkillers all the time. People who have reproductive health issues or PMS, painful periods, or, things to do with reproductive health. Things to do with the skeleton, people who have joint issues, backache, problems at shoulders, those kind of things. Trauma manifests in physical symptoms, and actually the effects of trauma cause 7 out of 10 of the top causes of death. I think that should make people serious. 7 out of 10 of the top causes of death are from trauma. So you can imagine conditions like autoimmune conditions. You hear somebody has thyroid problem, lupus, things like that because of traumas which were not addressed. Things to do with immunity. With somebody's immunity is compromised, they are always down with the flu, they end up with cancer and things like that because of traumas which were not addressed. Things to do with the cardiovascular. This person ends up with heart problem, enlarged heart, high blood pressure, a stroke, all those things, they are from traumas which were not addressed. I think when people understand how trauma manifests, they'll take things very seriously. Reproductive health issues includes the problems associated with pregnancy, you know, gestational diabetes, gestational blood pressure, getting premature babies, getting miscarriages, being unable to conceive, all those things, trauma causes all those things. So when people realize how serious trauma is and how many lives are lost because people experience trauma and they didn't go through healing, I think to me the unhealed traumas are actually a national disaster because they kill more people than everything else. And there are people who will end up with thyroid issues, throat cancer, things like that because of childhood trauma which was never addressed. They went through life getting triggered, they lash out at people, they beat their wife, they beat their husband, they beat their children, all those things. But eventually those traumas will graduate to disease and shorten their lives on earth. So even this person that the spouse is complaining, they are always being quarreled and always beaten and all that, even that person who is doing that will eventually get sick and die prematurely. So the person being killed by the spouse is not the only one in problems. Even the one who is abusing the spouse and who is killing the spouse is at risk of dying prematurely because the traumas will become disease. Conditions like type 2 diabetes, you can get type 2 diabetes because of trauma which was not addressed.
Wow. Wow. Wow.